just made his way down to here, which he'll lie flat again. He might stay here for a bit longer now. Wow.
Oh, I think.
Hello, hello, hello. Surely they should be saying something to us by now. Good morning, folks, and welcome to the Sabi Sands. I've just seen some hyena tracks on the road here, that's why I stopped for a second just to inspect that there weren't potentially anything else. Welcome to South Africa. We are here on Djuma and Arathusa, and it is the start of 2015 for us and for you as well, I'm sure. So hopefully we are going to have some fun out here this morning. There could be a bit of rain. It looks like potential drizzle coming from the south, but hopefully that doesn't cause a problem for us, but it will be something we are bearing in mind this morning. We've gotten a little bit late this morning because we saw some lion on the way into work. We saw 3 lionesses and 1 male, but in Manyeleti, quite far from here, and sadly there'd be no way we could broadcast from where they were. But that was a very good start to the morning for us. Now we are hopefully going to find any sign of predators, elephants, any large animals will be, or more high profile animals will be what we try and find today, but along the way we couldn't see anything, so let's just see what Mother Nature has for us. I am going to start on Vuyatela Dam this morning, where the Karula female leopard was last seen, which was yesterday morning, but we did have some of her tracks heading closer towards the dam yesterday afternoon, and we spent some time in the area but didn't have any luck finding her. Another cool morning though, which is great. We really do enjoy the cool mornings that we get at the, because there are not many of them. It's very you wouldn't believe it, folks, but myself and Brian did find another hornbill. Monitor their development over the next month. Where is the best spot to? I'm just going to wipe the lens quickly, folks, because there's apparently some water on the lens. It's VM on camera today, and Brian in control. Marion in Texas, good morning Marion, and welcome to the Sabi Sands. Thanks very much for your news. We do appreciate it, and we did have a small 12 last night just to see the new year in, and thank you very much for your wishes. Now, what we have up in the tree ahead of us here is another hornbill nest. It's a red-billed hornbill's nest, and if you just zoom into the right-hand trunk at about that height, then you've got the perfect height there of the right-hand most big trunk, and slightly lower, but keep zooming in, keep on going. Slightly lower, there we go. So if you keep zooming in as much as you can there, Vim, you'll notice there's a very small gap in the tree, and you'll see a small white little dropping, it looks like. Now in that cavity in the center of the shot, there is a female hornbill sitting waiting for the male to return to feed her. Now it'll be interesting, I'm not sure what time of the day hornbills do wake up and start hunting, but there certainly will be some hungry mouths to feed. We're not sure if there are chicks in the nest. We just stopped you very briefly yesterday when we saw one hornbill flying with an insect in its mouth, and as I did mention yesterday with the other hornbill nest, but I'll just reiterate, when you see a bird flying with a kill, it in all likelihood is taking it back to a nest, because it would make more sense for it to consume that kill as soon as it has caught it, and therefore not run the risk of another bird trying to steal it. So we'll just give it a minute or two if we can see this hornbill coming back to do feeding. And what that also does is it allows us to spend a few minutes here without the vehicle running, and that way it allows us to hear any potential alarm calls or vocalizations of animals that may lead us closer towards them. It is something that is slightly tricky about not sleeping here on Djuma, is that we miss out on all the audio at night of what is happening in this area. For example, if lions were roaring last night, we would have no idea of exactly where they were. Whereas if we were here, we'd wake up in the morning with a little bit more intel, but it won't take long for the game viewers to get out, I don't think, unless all the guests had a big party last night. But hopefully there will be some people up early this morning, out with us here, and aid in the search for animals. Oh, no, there was a red-billed buffalo weaver flying past. I just saw. There you could just see some flying through the screen quite quickly there. There's some red-billed buffalo weavers nesting in this small grove of acacias. And I just saw one of these individuals flying past and thought it might be the hornbill on its way back in. And there'll be potentially several different buffalo weavers nesting in that same clump of twigs. They build communally these big, rather large nests and then have their own apartments within them. This isn't the biggest nest though, so it'll be interesting to know how many different females would be nesting in there. Oh, here comes the hornbill. So, the hornbill has just landed nearby. It doesn't appear to have a kill in its beak. Oh no, it does have a little kill in its beak. So, if we just give it a in the center of his shot. Oh no, it appears to have eaten the kill that it brought here. So maybe opted out of showing us where the nest is. He may think that we are unaware of the nest being here. But we saw him yesterday coming to drop off some food, so we know they are there. Okay, well I think it would be better for us to carry on. For now, we can certainly find the time to sit here over the coming month. But it is so nice to know that there are all these smaller ongoings and families being raised, not just the high profile animals. So to all the people who are sending messages through on Twitter wishing us Happy New Year's, thank you very much. Brian is letting us know that there's lots and lots of messages coming through, and we thank you for that. Got a question that's just come through from Lucille in California. Good morning, Lucille, and Happy New Year's. Lucille is asking whether, with regards to the hornbill nest that we've just left, if the male for some reason became incapacitated and couldn't get back to the nest to feed her, would she be able to break out? And the answer to that is yes, Lucille. She certainly would be able to break out, and she actually spends a lot of the time that she is sitting in there rebuilding and making sure that the small coin slot is left in the nest. And what this does is it ensures that she can also break out, but that nothing can break in. And when she is ready to break out of the nest, in a couple of weeks time probably, once she's raised the chicks for a few weeks, then she will break out, and she'll need to break out in order to be able to help the male in feeding the chicks, because their growth and the amount of food that they require will increase as the weeks go on. So thanks for that question, Lucille. And that's why I'm hoping to follow one of these nests closely, is that imagine sitting there actually seeing a female breaking out and seeing her fly for the first time after being in there for probably close on a month. There are just some tracks on the left hand side of the road here, and as Vim's showing you there, and I just needed to double check them to make sure they weren't anything we may be looking for. And I would love to see one of the animals responsible for making those tracks, but we typically don't track them down. They are hyena tracks, and because hyena do cover such huge distances, tracking them would be very, very difficult. Okay. So the plan is initially, folks, to head on to Twin Dams. We did get a report from one of those Lion Audio. So we'll slowly move this area, checking very closely for any signs of tracks and listening carefully for any other alarm calls to these lines.
And are working on it as fast as possible to get it sorted.
Welcome back, folks. We're really sorry about these breaks in transmission, but like I say, performing differently to how it used to perform. The area that we're driving in now, I know we spent time in, not very long. Sadly having a few issues, and on top of the technical issues, we have got a little bit of rain. Very slight precipitation, but when we move the vehicle forward, the lens does get covered in water. So if that does happen and VM has to wipe the lens, please bear with us. Now there's a very pretty bird. I'm hoping we're going to be able to see it from here clearly. It's called an African green pigeon. And they're very, very pretty birds. It's a pigeon with incredibly abnormal colorations for pigeons, and it's right at the top left of this tree that VM is busy zooming into now. Looks like it's eating the fruit off this boer bean tree. And you do get an idea of the beautiful colorations, those green wings and bright red feet and beak. Also quite bright yellow markings underneath their wings by their legs. Very agile and good at hopping around these branches looking for fruits. They strictly fruit eating, the green pigeon, unlike most other pigeons which will feed on seeds and grass seeds. And you seldom actually see them out in the open, so this is a good opportunity to show you the African green pigeon. What would be wonderful is if we heard its call. It's got a beautiful call that I will not even try to imitate because it's a tricky one. There could well be other green pigeons within this tree. Just having a look in the canopy with my binoculars, because they often do move together in small flocks. But none are evident to be nearby. Okay, well, that's the first African green pigeon I've shown anybody since I've been working with WildEarth, which is just over a month now, and it's been the most enjoyable month, and look forward to the following month, the coming month. We're going to clear. It's important for us to drive slowly. We're going to be able to see anything. Okay. are a fair amount of other vehicles out this morning on drive. A lot of them have only started getting mobile now, a bit north. Other vehicles out searching over this massive area that we can move is hugely beneficial for us. However, it also must be mentioned that when there are less vehicles out, we have the whole playground to ourselves, and the nice thing about that is, the other end of the spectrum is that if you do find an animal, you'll be under absolutely no pressure to leave lighting and let other people see, which is something that you do need to do when there are lots of vehicles out. You try and share as much as possible. So there are pros and cons to both situations. Starting to come down a seek refuge, but we are quite close to the little house on the prairie, which is the same place where we broadcast the fireside chat from last night. For those of you that were with us, thanks for joining last night. Weather's not good, folks, because when it starts raining like this, we do need to get these vehicles under cover. There's just so much important equipment exposed. Running across the road. Again, sadly, due to this weather, we are not going to stop and look at them. We're going to continue and try and get under some shelter. And then establish what to do next. It is hard to tell whether it would clear later, but there's a lot of cloud cover around us, and sadly, if it continues like this, we are going to be out of action. Let me just show you one thing here quickly before we potentially have to close down. There's a tiny little leopard tortoise on the road. It's very cute. They do get smaller than this, but this is the smallest one I've seen this year. So sorry about the smudgy screen, but look at how cute that is. Tiny little leopard tortoise running for cover, as are we. As are we. Folks, if this weather does continue to prevent us from broadcasting, what I would like to mention is that if it does clear in the next few hours, we will become mobile again. So it's just hard to tell what we are going to do now, or what to do. Well, folks, I'm just going to stop at the little house on the prairie temporarily until this drizzle blows over, hopefully. So please send through any questions that you may be wanting to ask about anything really, not relative to what we may be looking at or searching for. And to do that, it's #SafariLive on Twitter, and questions@wildearth.tv on email. Okay, well folks, this is it, the little house on the prairie. So let's creep a little bit further in, just to make sure Liam doesn't get wet on the back. Okay, 1 second while Liam just cleans up the finder. And what he can potentially do is just head out, show you the kind of weather that is coming in and the clouds that are coming in. He's just got a lot to deal with now. There's a little raincoat over the camera, so not easy. But as you can see, it is fairly soupy out there. And even though it's just a fine drizzle, when you're moving, you get very wet very quickly, which obviously is no good and does make things difficult for us showing you whatever we can out here this morning. Like I said, please try and get through any questions, and Brian in control will feed them through to me. Okay. Sorry Brian, if you could just go again with the name there, but somebody in Pittsburgh, good morning, and you'll know who you are. Sharon from Pittsburgh. Morning Sharon, welcome on board. Sharon has asked which bird makes the biggest nest. Now, as far as I'm aware, there's a bird called the hammerkop, which I'll get out in the book here to show you, and it's a brown bird about this size, so not very big, but it just gives you a rough idea of how big it is body wise. And it builds a nest that can be kind of 2 meters square in size, with just a huge amounts of sticks being put together fairly haphazardly, and often in the fork of a tree, creating a massive dome of sticks. And they actually nest within that, not on top of it, so they've got a little chamber within that massive nest. And I have seen some that are about 2 square meters in size, so really massive nests, often big enough for eagles or other birds of prey to nest on top of. But let me get you a picture of the old hammerkop. Now hammerkop in Afrikaans, which is a language that is very similar to Dutch, it's from the Dutch settlers in South Africa, and hammerkop means hammerhead, and you will see why shortly. So, an aquatic bird, it spends a lot of time hunting small aquatic species, the hammerkop. So this is the one we can see here, and it does have a very distinctively hammer-shaped head. Let's read exactly what it says about them. Right here it just says often roosts in or near their large nest. Food mainly frogs, tadpoles, small fish, aquatic insects. So predominantly aquatic prey species. What else? What else does it have here? So here it does say builds unique and enormous dome nest with side entrance diameter approximately 1 to 2 meters. And it can take months for these birds to complete building these nests. So that is the bird with the biggest nest that I know of in Africa, Sharon. Thanks for that question. And I'm not sure if you could hear the rain pattering down onto the tarpaulin that is protecting us now, but it did increase slightly for a few moments. You may well not have heard because the raincoat that's covering the camera now also covers the mic on top of the camera, so that will lessen the audio. We've got a question from Brenda. Morning, Brenda. Okay, Brenda from Pennsylvania, welcome on board, good morning. Brenda's asking how many different kinds of monkeys we get in the Sabi Sands, and as far as I'm aware, there are 3 main different monkeys that we can expect to see here. One being a baboon, which would be the largest primates of this area, and you do get different types of baboons depending on which parts of Africa you're in. In South Africa we only get the Chakma baboon, but further north into Kenya and Tanzania you get yellow baboons and olive baboons, 2 other species of baboons, and further north into Ethiopia you get the gelada, which is also a type of baboon. But here we only get the Chakma baboon and also the vervet monkey, so those are the 2 main primates that we can see here. But interestingly enough, there's another primate here, a very small primate, a nocturnal primate, called a bush baby, and I will have to get a picture of one in the book for you, Brenda, because they're incredibly cute animals and I would love to show you one. But now the bush baby, which is also a primate, does not sadly present themselves to us very often, and they are nocturnal. So we aren't out very late at night, which doesn't aid in us showing you the bush babies, but what I can do is show you these pictures in the book. So they don't look, well, I suppose they are fairly monkey-like, but are very unique and often very small animals, with their length being sometimes only 30 to 40 centimeters. But you do get different bush babies. You get the thick-tailed or greater bush baby and the lesser bush baby, and the greater bush baby is far larger. That can be up to 78 to 80 centimeters. They do occur in some parts of the Kruger National Park, these greater bush babies, also known as galagos. But more likely to see the lesser bush baby in this area. There are actually some in the manager's house of Juma Camp that some people were lucky enough to see on Christmas Eve. We had a small dinner there, and some of us sitting around the fire did manage to see it, but I didn't. It just jumped through the overhead branches and then was off. I would love to see one though, because they are very cute, and thank you for that question, Sharon. I'm hoping to show you guys some baboons. We haven't showed you any baboons yet, but we have had a few sightings, I think 2 or 3 with myself, of vervet monkeys. So we do need to tick the baboon off the list though. I'm not sure where they are hiding. Diane from New York, good morning and welcome on board. Diane's asked a very interesting question, and that is relevant because we did have hippos fighting at Vuyatela Dam just a couple of days ago, and Diane's asking that if lion were nearby and they heard the audio of hippos fighting, would they come in and, investigate and potentially try and prey on the weakened hippo that have been fighting? And I think yes, I think they would potentially come and investigate, but even an injured hippo is still a very large and difficult prey item for a lion to take down. That's not to say that lion haven't done it and that they won't continue to do it, but it is a unique experience, and it would be something interesting to watch unfold, to be with lion and then see them hearing the audio of hippo and seeing their response. But I think there is a chance that they would certainly go and have a look, but at the same time it may not necessarily be guaranteed that it would lead to anything. The rain is coming down harder now. I'm sure you will be able to hear it on this tarpaulin roof. A question from either Ricky or Vicky, I'm not sure which one, but you'll know who you are, asking Vicky. Morning Vicky, how are you doing? And Vicky would like to know whether, or what the reason is for why only an alpha female and alpha male in a wild dog pack would mate. And the reason for that is because they will then ensure that any young that are being raised have got the whole pack behind them in raising them. So you could imagine it would be the same as, we could apply the same theory to humans, that if only one kid had 10 people to look after it, it would have a lot less to worry about, a lot less financial issues, a lot more people to look after it, therefore ensuring that it gets raised well. Whereas if each pair within a pack of wild dogs were to have young, they would all have their own individual worries of raising young, as opposed to collectively focusing on getting as much food into the new pups of the pack. So that is the reason why animals like wild dog and even hyena will often only allow the alpha male and female to reproduce. But in certain situations there will be a beta female that does mate. I know that for certain with hyena, and I'm sure that the same does happen with big packs of wild dog, where maybe even 2 or 3 females may give birth, the highest ranking, and then depending on the pack size, the rest of the pack can aid in feeding. Excuse me. So that is my theory with regards to that question, and I sadly haven't seen packs of wild dog big enough, but like I say, I'm convinced that in certain scenarios wild dog will give birth to, well, more than one wild dog in a pack may give birth, and it is the same for hyena. I have noticed that with hyena clans in the Sabi Sands that 2 females from the same clan do give birth occasionally, when the situation provides for it. Now, I am not sure what to do, because sitting under this tarpaulin is not my idea of a adventure. Heading out into the beautiful surroundings is, but with the downpours that we are having, it is risky to head out, because if we get caught in one, our equipment will get wet. So just trying to decide what the best thing to do is. We'll maybe give it another 15 or 20 minutes and see if this weather doesn't change. But until then we will be under here. Then we can possibly just pan out to the horizon. It is pretty scenery, but sadly question's just come through from Linda in California. Good morning, Linda. Linda is asking whether we get any viper snakes in this area of South Africa. And we do. Vipers and adders are both considered the same depending on where you are. You get vipers and adders, but they're both very similar snakes and can almost be used synonymously, those words, viper and adder. And we have snakes in South Africa. One viper that comes to mind is the gaboon viper, and that's a beautiful, beautiful snake with very cryptically colored coats, with a very cryptically colored coat. And this gaboon viper lives often in coastal forests and hides in the undergrowth, the leaf litter, and it's worth googling actually, the gaboon viper. It's incredibly pretty and exceptionally large. It is the biggest viper we have and has a very big triangular head and the longest fangs of any of the snakes in South Africa, that as I'm aware. So we do get the gaboon viper, and like I say, similar to vipers, in a word that can be almost used synonymously, as adders. We also get many different types of adders. One in this area called the puff adder, and it's called the puff adder because it puffs up and expels that air to warn people if it is that you are nearby to them. So instead of standing on them or getting too close to them, they are let off a fairly loud hissing, and that hissing noise will hopefully deter any animal from stepping closer, because if you do step too close to a puff adder and it does bite you, it's got a very nasty cytotoxic venom that basically rots the flesh off your body. So you may lose a limb, albeit potentially just a finger. You may lose something if a puff adder bites you. So yes, we do get the puff adder here and various other adders within South Africa. So yes, the answer to your question is we do get similar snakes to those of Central America, the vipers of Central America. Thank you very much for sending these questions through, folks, because without your questions I would simply be sitting under this tarpaulin looking at the birds. Chris Rogue has just asked a question on Twitter. Good morning, Chris, welcome on board. And Chris is asking whether hyena do banish members of clans, and yes, they do. Certain members will move off from clans and start their own clans, and that is how nature ensures that there is genetic variety or variance between different clans, and new clans starting up, and males from different clans moving and establishing dominance within different clans. So it certainly will happen that members of clans will be banished. Most often the males in the predator world that are banished from clans or prides. With lion, for example, it's the males that get kicked out when they start becoming sexually mature, to prevent them trying to mate with their mothers and sisters, which would otherwise happen. So yes, Chris, to a degree there is certainly banishment of individuals from clans of hyenas, wild dog, leopard, lion. Leopard it's less applicable because they are solitary, so to speak. But a good question, and speaking of which, I wonder where these hyena are denning at the moment. It would be wonderful, especially on mornings like this, to be able to park somewhere and not worry about the rain filling up the lens and simply just watch what unfolds. But sadly, the hyena den site that we were viewing a few weeks ago has been moved. And that is normal. They do move from den to den over the months. It can just be tricky for us to sometimes find their new den sites. Now, I cannot handle sitting under here any longer, folks, so we are going to head out and brave the weather. I would rather do that with a chance of showing you something. And if it does start raining and we do need to take shelter, we will do that, but sitting under this tarpaulin is torture for me. Okay. seen our hornbill friend. This is in all likelihood the same individual we saw feeding on the termites that were leaving this termite mound yesterday. And it's sitting here hoping that a few more will leave. Is that one that I can see right there? Yep, there we go. He's got one. And let's see if he flies off towards the nest. Ooh. This may be a different individual flying to a different nest. Let's keep a close eye on where it goes. It's going to be hard for VM to follow as it's gone kind of behind the vehicle, but I am watching it still. Now we could follow that one and over time establish where it is nesting, but that is a different individual carrying a flying ant off to a different family, a different nest. The one we saw yesterday was flying back in that direction to the nest that we did find yesterday. Okay, we've got another great opportunity here, and it often does happen in the better weather, but there's an African green pigeon sitting in the tree considerably closer than the other one was sitting that we saw earlier in the boerbean tree. And they sometimes do sit out in the open like this early in the mornings. But other than these early morning visuals, they are hard to get a glimpse of. Such pretty birds with a bright blue eye, which you can just kind of make out there. It doesn't look like it's going to be moving around, but it does. If it does take any steps, keep a close eye out for an extremely bright yellow markings under on their belly, really, around their legs. But this, oh, there we go. Well, you would have had to have been quick to see anything there, but, and in this short space of time that we were zoomed in on the African green pigeon, I've seen either the same hornbill that flew off or another one flying from that same direction has come back. So this termite mound continues to produce the goods for the hornbills. Okay. I am beginning to get withdrawal symptoms for cat viewing. Even though we did see lion on the way into work this morning, it doesn't count just spending 5 minutes in a rush to get to work with the pride of lion. You'd rather be stuck with them for hours. And I'm not fussy whether it's a lion or a leopard. I'll take either one this morning. But I would love to spend some time with cats again, because it's been a while now since I did. That and elephants, actually. The elephants have been very scarce. We've hardly seen any sign of elephants in this area, but that is normal. They come and go, the elephant. They cover huge distances, and it's important for them to come and go because it allows the environment to recover from the damage that they do cause. It's necessary damage. Without them, this habitat would look very different to what it is. So they are required to kind of keep the growth down of trees and vegetation, but at the same time it's nice for the environment to have a few weeks off with no elephants around. message that's just come through from Craig in Salt Lake City. Good morning, Craig, and welcome on board. Craig is asking why it is that leopards are solitary, and to answer that question in short before I rather, why are lions the only cats that are communal? Because it doesn't matter where you go in the world, jaguars, mountain lion, domestic cats, cheetah, leopard, communally in prides. And it is interesting that lions have managed to understand the benefits of living communally and hunting communally, and in a continent like Africa with so many large herbivores, it does make incredible sense, because without lion hunting communally, they wouldn't be able to take down big prey as big as elephants in some unique scenarios, but in general, you know, animals like buffalo, giraffe, their numbers wouldn't be able to be kept in check without lion hunting communally. So thanks for that question, and just to point out that it is, yeah, all cats are solitary when you actually think about it. It's lions that are the ones that are unique. But thank you for the question, and I hope that answers it. That little explanation I gave you answers it. But it is a fairly gloomy day, so we could expect these showers to come and go. Elaine, good morning Elaine, and welcome on board. Elaine is asking, where are the cheetah? And to be honest, there's two of them not very far from us, but we're not allowed there. So they're around, and two males have been found this morning, but sadly it's on an area that we do not have access to. So we will not be able to show you them, but the good news is that there have been cheetah moving in this general area over the last 3 days actually. So, and I think it is just these two brothers, a coalition of two brothers. Juma or Arathusa. Sadly though, at the moment they are not spending any time here. I would love to see it for a long time, but something that is important about this area is that it isn't good for cheetah viewing. It's great for many other things, but sadly cheetah viewing is not one of them. But I did say that I'm hoping at least once or twice we'll be able to show you cheetah in morning, Craig. Happy New Year's to you too. I have headed down to Twin Dams from the lodge and then back up towards Quarantine, and now I'm checking around Zoe's Road, Vananites. Very, very quiet. Nothing to report, sadly. Okay, copy. Thank you, sir. Good luck. Hopefully things will change for the better. I did drive that area yesterday afternoon, didn't come up with anything, and did have tracks of Karula heading towards Gari Dam from where she was last seen yesterday morning. So I followed up a little bit around the lodge, but didn't have any luck. Okay, sorry about that, folks. Just catching up with Craig. He's a wonderful guy from what little time I've spent with him. And he was just letting know where he's been, checking this morning, and a few little updates. Sadly, he is also having a quiet morning. Sorry, the Game Drive channel, folks, can be difficult to hear, so sometimes I do need to stop just to make sure I can hear what people are saying. We've got a few mumblers amongst us, so it's difficult to hear what guys are saying. Where to now? Let's go left. Actually, the first person to get a message to Brian whether to go left, right or straight, you will determine where we go, because I am at a loss for any ideas. All three are good options. I was leaning towards going left, but let's see who gets in a direction for Brian first. And once we do establish which way to go, possibly that person could let us know whatever they would hope to see along the road, so we can know what to look for. And again, this just gives us a moment to stop, have the vehicle off and listen. And I can't stress how important that is, to be able to stop and listen. You can hear alarm calls and various different audios from a long way off out here, and they can often be very useful. Okay, well, we've got a winner. We've got in the first person, and it was left. Brian, confirm it was left. So to Chris, thank you for helping me make this very difficult decision. One of the hardest decisions I've faced thus far this year. And I thank you for your assistance. So here we are, heading down Zoe's Road. And Chris, what would you like to see ideally around any one of these corners that we're going down? Okie dokie. It's interesting, this road's very well, not very well positioned, it's just central to the property, but I often find myself not driving down it, so you do get into these funny kind of rhythms or habits out here, and you start using some roads more than others. Why, I'm not sure, but this is one road that I could well explore more often. We've got good news, folks. Craig has just found a leopard. Copy that, Craig. Well done. I will slowly start making my way into that area, and hopefully we'll still be with him when I get there. Okay, copy. Well, folks, Craig has found a leopard. He seems to think it's Karula, and we are not too far away from where they are. And isn't that funny? We had just spoken to him. He was the guy I was speaking to just a few minutes ago. Just had up. Was getting a bit desperate. Got a hold of me, hoping that I had found something, and he's hit the jackpot, which essentially means we've also hit the jackpots. Through an area that is thick and easy to lose a leopard in, but especially with this vehicle, than the game does, we would have a better chance of staying with it than he would. And the fact that if two of us are there also does help in looping ahead and keeping track of them. Sorry, VM's getting shaken around here. This road is quite bumpy, and it's a lot bumpier on the back seat that he has to sit on, so apologies to him. But I'm sure VM, just like me, is excited to lay his eyes on a leopard, hopefully. Okay, so Craig is still with Karula. She's moving through an area very close to where she lost her one cub yesterday to the hyena, tragically, and Who knows why she's there? Maybe she's still thinking there's a chance that cub's alive, still looking for it. Possibly there's another cub in the area. We will only be able to find this out if and when we get there. But those are possible speculations as to what's going on. Try and get there as quickly as possible, folks, because like I did mention earlier, the vehicle that we're in is a lot easier to maneuver off-road than the game is, and he did say she is heading into some thick stuff, so I don't want to take any chances and let him lose her. Much better, so I'm hoping we are not going to have any weather issues for the rest of this morning or the rest of the day for that matter. Oh no, there was a hammerkorb, the bird with the big head that makes a big nest. You can just get a glimpse of it flying away there, but we did speak about that bird earlier this morning. Well done, Viam. So there's just a little brief taster of what a hammerkorb looks like. The bird that builds the massive nest that we spoke about briefly under the tarpaulin. Okie dokie. Okay. Okay, copy, thank you. Okay folks, well now you can see that we are no longer on the road and Craig is somewhere in the bush ahead of us here. Help our vehicle audio as we approach. Folks, well, we can see, I'm just going to try and get into a slightly better position because we don't have the best view from here, but the great news is that she is just in front of us. I'm just going to stop here. It's not perfect, but you still can see her from here. And for those of you that were watching yesterday when Mark was on drive, this is the exact same place where she did lose her cub. And Craig has just mentioned that she has been vocalizing, trying to call a cub, so she could still be hoping that it is here, which is very sad. You can see she's sniffing very cub that was killed by a hyena yesterday. Just going to wait here a moment, folks, and just establish where she moves to next before crashing through any bushes unnecessarily, because she could well be backwards and forwards around this area. I think the bush that she is sniffing in and around now is the one where the cub was nabbed out of yesterday. Okay, so I'm just taking my jacket off. It is heating up now. There appeared to be a small gap that I could sneak through here to give you a better view. So let's try that out. Folks, we might just need to wipe the lens quickly because of a bit of water droplets, and it's certainly going to be worth it because we have got a beautiful view of her now. It is sad, and for any mother losing a youngster must be traumatic. What has she heard there? Something caught her attention. But it does happen often in nature, and she is often the one causing mothers to lose their youngsters. So it's simply a roles reversed from the norm. But still sad to see her. And we've got a question that's just come through from Lewis. Good morning, Lewis, and welcome on board. Lewis is asking whether it's likely that she will mate again soon, and the answer to that is yes, Lewis, she will mate. And I've seen a female leopard lose her cubs and mate within a week. Within a week of losing her cubs, she was mating again. So her role here on this planet, and that is to make more leopards, will continue very shortly after this mourning period. Or we're not sure how much she's mourning as to, or potentially just making sure, but in my experience, as soon as a week after losing cubs, they can mate again. And with predators, what's important to realize is they don't wait 4 seasons like the herbivores do. They can mate at any time of the year. There's always food sources around for the predators. No, where has she? We've still got a visual of her. But it's tricky going in here. There's a tree that she might go up, I'm hoping. Very comfortable looking marula. And she's looking like she might go up it. So I'm going to try and get there. Oh, I think waiting here is... No, let's try and go for it. Closer. Because I think she might jump up. Quickly, 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 quickly. Oh, there she goes. Wonderful, folks. Look at this. Beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. What an incredible animal, folks. And what a beautiful spot to see her in. Up in the marula tree. She's grimacing. It could be at the sound of that tree squirrel alarm calling at her, or simply just in frustration, having lost that. Lost that cub. Reposition in time, folks, and try to get onto the other side of this tree so we can see her face. But for now, let's just enjoy this. And I saw her looking up at this tree and was hoping that she would go up, and I'm very happy she did. She's living off these small balls that she would have made in order. Making these small contact calls. There we just saw a small little contact call again. I hope you noticed that, folks. It was very subtle, but she did let off a small contact call there, so she still is hoping to find a cub here, but sadly I don't think she is going to be in luck. But she is simply here just making sure. She looks fairly full-bellied. I'm wondering if she didn't make a kill last night. I'll say that because of the rate that she's panting. Now, I didn't see her yesterday morning, but do know that when a leopard is panting like this and it's not very hot, it could be because there's a lot of meat pushing up against her diaphragm, therefore causing her to take shorter, faster breaths, which you can clearly see she's doing now. So who knows, possibly she's made a kill. Oh, beautiful, look at that. Possibly she's made a kill and just come back here to look for the cub to make sure it's not around. And who knows, possibly it will take us to a kill later on today. Shame you can see these vocalizations now a lot clearer. We've got a question that's just come through from Lorraine in Australia. Good morning, Lorraine, and welcome on board. Lorraine is asking whether female leopards will call male leopards, and the answer to that is yes. The females can and will vocalize, and males could well respond to that, but what they will also do is scent mark, and by leaving a scent trail throughout their territory, any males passing by will be able to smell these different scent trails and read into whether this female is potentially in season and or raising cubs. So in the coming weeks we can expect some males to be following close on her heels, and I think a lot of the time the males are very quick to react to the scent of a female in season, so she may have several males showing interest in her in the coming weeks. And I think it's also important to say that she can rely almost entirely on the scent markings, not necessarily audio to call males, but both different forms of communication will be used. Well folks, Craig is moving out, and I just want to say, Craig, thanks man, well done. And as soon as he's made his way out of the sighting, we will reposition the vehicle to a slightly better angle, or a different angle, not a better angle. I think this is a great angle here. Kelly's just asked a question from Philadelphia, and Kelly has asked whether the fact that there were vehicles in the sighting yesterday, does she think we believe that, or do we think that the fact that vehicles were in the sighting contributed to the fact that the hyenas may have known that there was a cub there? And I think certainly not. And in general, how many times, to put things in perspective, how many times, Kelly, have you been watching a drive where we've been sitting with impala or any other animal, not a predator, and hyena have arrived around the vehicle and looked around assuming that there'd be some kind of predator or some kind of animal around? It never happens. They come across lion and leopard because they can smell them and they're looking for lion and leopard a lot of the time. Hyena in this area rely on following leopard because they know if they follow leopard they could well find food. And in this situation, yesterday's scenario, those hyena could have simply been walking past, smelt the fact that Karula had been there, an adult female leopard, and then were following it hoping that they may find an impala with Karula. I think once they did get into the area, they could then smell that there was a cub, because according to Mark and the footage that I've seen, the brief footage, she didn't... Listen. Well, folks, that is the typical leopard audio that they do vocalize, and that was really interesting to hear. That wasn't the softer contact call that we had heard her calling and making earlier. That was a louder contact call meant for other predators, or maybe meant to... I've even seen leopard doing that call after missing impala or missing a killing opportunity, missing a hunting opportunity, and they almost do it shouting in disgust that they've missed out. So it could mean a various number of things, that vocalization we've just heard, but I'm so glad you got to see that. So Kelly, back to your question. No, I don't think the fact that there were vehicles in that sighting contributed to the fact that the hyena knew that there was a cub. They've got exceptionally good senses of smell, and I think that would have led them to the fact that there was a leopard with cubs in that area. Let's see if we can get closer or a slightly different angle. Beautiful. Look at this, folks. Shame, folks, now that we're closer, I'm sure you heard that audio a little bit better. And you can almost hear the frustration and despair in her voice, even though we don't know what she's saying. You can hear that she isn't happy, and that she's almost hoping something will change. Folks, so I'm just going to try and make some space here for the other vehicles to shift into position. We've had such a good look here, and I'd rather move out and let them have a chance to look, and that way give everyone a turn. Just start this process. Sorry, Liam, are you okay, dude? Hey?
There you go.
The others all were kind of jammed behind me, so because we are more maneuverable in this vehicle, we can head off to a slightly different spot and still have a view of her. And that way, the other vehicles can have a spot where they can view her. Elaine's just asked a question on Twitter, morning Elaine, asking how we establish which leopard is which, and we do that by looking at the spot patterns above their whisker line. So you can see on her left hand side of her muzzle, shame, she really is frustrated, folks. As you can see, she's got 4 spots above her whisker line on her left hand side of her muzzle, and I think 3 on her right, so she's got a distinctive 4-3 spot pattern. That is one way of doing it, but there are so many different spots on their body that you can look at for identification purposes, but typically the most commonly used ones are the ones just above the whisker lines, in line with the nostrils. Questions just come through from Douglas asking how many more litters Karula could have relative to how old she is. Now, I stand to be corrected, but I think she is around 12 years old, and I do forget these little facts, so somebody might correct me on that. But despite her age, Douglas, it is difficult to answer that question because she's 11. Thanks, Brian. So there's many different factors in that question. One being that she could well lose a lot of litters very short into their lifespan and therefore give birth to many. Or if she successfully raises all of her cubs, she can spend 2 years with one individual or 2 individuals raising 2 individuals before she can give birth to another litter. So it does depend on the actual luck of them raising cubs, and depending on that success rate of raising litters, it will obviously impact directly on how often she gives birth. Because if, for example, in the worst case scenario, she lost every litter of cubs she gave birth to from now until she died, she would essentially lose cubs, wait a week or two, mate, then it's a 3-month gestation period, and then she'd give birth again. So she could give birth easily 3 times in 1 year to 3 different litters. But that is only if they continue to get killed. So I hope that answers your question, Douglas. She could well have a few more litters raised in her lifetime, and she could well lose a few more litters to other animals along the way. Copy that, Ephraim. You make your way and I'll make space for you as soon as you get here. Folks, there's another vehicle that would like to come and have a look at this leopard. So what I'm going to do is allow them to come in, because we do need to share. It is important, but we are going to lurk nearby, so that once everyone is finished having a quick look, we will be able to make our way back in here and spend the rest of the drive with her, because it will be very interesting to see her behavior over the next few days, and the only way to do that is to stay with her. Sadly now we do need to make a short gap for another vehicle, and that's fine. We've had a wonderful sighting, seeing her climb up the tree, seeing her vocalize. But we do need to make space and share this incredible moment with the other vehicles out here. And if it wasn't for the other vehicles, we certainly wouldn't be looking at her now. Incredible, folks, to see her vocalizing like that with our perfect angle. We are very, very lucky. Shame all the other game viewers were on the other side of the vehicle, so they didn't get to see that nearly as well as we did. Well, folks, the angle VM's giving you now is just to give you a little bit of a different perspective as to where the leopard is relative to us, and we are very fortunate in that we can be very close to these animals without them being too disturbed by us or at all. She's completely relaxed with our presence, and this is rare. You don't typically get leopard this relaxed with vehicles unless you come to very specific places like the Sabi Sands, where leopards over many, many years have been habituated to the vehicles, and therefore allow us to view them during these very, very interesting periods. And before leopards were followed so intimately like this, a lot less was known about their behavior, and still to this day a lot is being learnt about their behavior and proving all the textbooks wrong. And this is simply due to the fact that they have now allowed us into their space and continue with their daily ongoings unperturbed by us. Joanne's just asked a question, wondering how old leopards or leopardess would be when she could no longer be a viable breeder. And I'd say anywhere from roughly 15 years of age, 15, 16 years of age, they'd be becoming less likely to give birth again. I've heard of one female that lived to 22 years of age, and I'm not sure how long into her life she did continue to give birth for. And I actually haven't really personally followed any very old females, so I don't know personally from first-hand experience any exact stories, but a guess would be that around 15 or 16 years of age they'd probably be towards the end of their cub making careers. But I could be wrong, and a lot, just like humans, Joan, will depend on the individual. Just like us, you get different shapes, sizes and forms of the same being, so that is also something very important to remember. But thanks for that question. Now I'm wondering, folks, whether the louder vocalizations that we've heard her do now on 2 occasions, not these softer contact calls. Copy, you keep coming. Whether the louder vocalizations, the rasping noise that we've heard, whether that vocalization wouldn't potentially let Kunuma or quarantine 2 of her sons, 2-year-old sons, know that she's in the area. Because if they do hear her, I'm fairly certain they'll come running to look for her in the hope that she may lead them to some food, which is what they are so used to.
Buffalo right behind us.
Oh, really? Okay, nice, man. Well, there's some buffalo that are arriving behind us, so let's see if they don't smell her and what their response is to her. How many buffalo can you see, Joe?
2.
There's 2 buffalo bulls. We'll potentially be able to show you one passing by shortly, but he does have difficult angles. They are right behind us. But I'm fairly certain that they're unaware of her presence. The direction they're coming in relative to the direction that she came in from are different, so they wouldn't have passed over her scent trail from where she's come from. Well, to Anne Maria, thank you for your kind words that you've just sent through. And it is so true, Anne Marie's just remarking as to how lucky we are to be viewing this behavior of a female leopard grieving the loss of one of her cubs. And you're right, Anne Marie, it's exceptionally rare behavior to be witnessing, and I'm so happy that we are able to share this with you, because it isn't something that happens often. Even in the 3.5 years that I've spent in this area with a lot of good leopard viewing, I've only ever had a mother leopard grieving her cub once before in all my time out here, so I'm very happy that we are viewing it despite the horrible scenario it is for her. It's nature and it is what it is, and what it does allow is, like you say, some incredible behavioral traits coming out here that we would only understand and get to view in this situation. Just 2 vehicles now. Aubrey's made his way out. Ephraim is on his way in, and you can keep coming, Tex, as soon as you get here. I'll make space. It is interesting to notice how fairly instantly her behavior appears to have relaxed. But as I say that, she objects and starts to call and show a more alert sense of character, whereas she was almost looking like she could doze off to sleep there for a moment. Just got a question through from Ishnagal in California asking whether this is a normal kind of resting place for a leopard during the day, or is she just here because of the proximity it was to the fact that she lost her cub here. And I think that yes, she's definitely in this general area because she lost her cub here and she is still hoping to find it. And whether she knew this marula tree before and has been up it before, which I think there's a strong chance she would have used this tree before, and therefore know about it, she may have decided to, yes, come to this specific tree because she knows it is comfortable and has spent time here in the past, or she could simply have just been wandering through here in the search of her cub and just happened upon this tree through default. So either way, whether she knew it from before, it was through default, I can't say because I haven't seen her up it before. But leopards do use the same trees for sleeping in, but it's not on a daily basis. It's not that common, sadly. They are not that much of an animal of a habit, which makes finding them for us so difficult. But certainly in summer, in any marula tree is a good spot to find a leopard during the day because it is nice and cool. There's a breeze up there and it's shady. So Ishnagal, it is a likely place to find a leopard, but why exactly she's here, other than the fact that she is looking for a cub, I would not be able to read into. Oh, there's another buffalo here that's actually seen this leopard, it looks like, but it's not too concerned because being a buffalo, they know that the leopard does not pose a threat to them. Oh, nice big yawn. She may well be getting up shortly, folks. Yawning is a good sign that they might well be coming active. So with a little bit of luck, she will be up and about shortly. Oh, look at this buffalo coming up and looking at our vehicle here, Vim. It might be worth showing the guys this, because the buffalo is just in front of our vehicle here, and you can see it's not at all happy with us and or the leopard. It can smell, I don't know if it can see the leopard, but let's watch this behavior and just be careful, because I don't want this buffalo to run into us. But you can see it's smelling, and it's concerned about something, so it can obviously smell the leopard, which is looking down at him now, and it's just a few meters away, but far too big for the leopard to try and catch. So she's probably just going to stay right where she is. And as you can tell from her behavior now, she's not at all perturbed any longer by these buffalo, and she knows she's 100% safe up there in the tree. Them, on the other hand, are getting a little bit worked up, and he is looking up at her now, this buffalo. We may find that the buffalo may run off and get a little bit scared after a certain amount of time. Well, who'd have thought that we'd have two of the big five, two of Africa's most iconic animals converge on one another right here on the first day of this year. And what a beautiful way it is to start the year. Got a question that's just come through from Clint. I think it's in Fiji. Good afternoon, Clint, or good morning, Clint, and welcome on board. Clint is asking if a buffalo has ever charged my vehicle or crashed into my vehicle since I've been working here. And the answer to that is no. I have not had that experience. Although through default a buffalo did crash into my vehicle once. It was being chased by a lion there, so I don't blame it for doing whatever it needed to do to get out of there. So I have had a vehicle run into the front of my vehicle before, and I had actually even warned the guests that it could well happen. We were down in a riverbed, and there wasn't much room for these buffalo to go anywhere, and we knew the lion were approaching them, so I did warn the guests and say that there's a strong chance that the buffalo would run into the vehicle, but not attacking us, just in the excitement or in its haste to get out of there as soon as it realized the lion were there. And that's exactly what it did. It crashed head first into the bonnet of the vehicle, but at the last second it did jam on brakes because it did realize that it wanted to rather get past the vehicle and away from the lion. So I have had one crash into the vehicle once, and I have heard of many different stories of buffalo crashing into vehicles in a malicious way. So it does happen, but thankfully not very often. Your biggest chance of coming unstuck with buffalo would be on foot, Clint. and that is when they can be really dangerous. But in the vehicle, thankfully, they do give us a little bit of respect because the vehicle is big and can make quite a loud noise if you rev it. So those two factors do aid in us keeping animals at bay when in the vehicle. Well folks, we've been very fortunate in that the game viewers have been cycling through the sighting very quickly, and it hasn't required us to actually leave. We were the first people here. Oh, here we go, beautiful. The buffalo gave a little hiss at the leopard as it started vocalizing, and I'm so happy you got to hear that audio and get to see her performing it, because it certainly was the loudest audio or vocalization she has made this morning. And thankfully now, well, thankfully for the other vehicles, she's turned around and giving them a better view, which is great. And she could well come down the tree now. Sadly, we are not on the right side of the tree now to capture this moment, because she's going to go down the same way she went up in all likelihood, but she could prove me wrong. But I'm guessing she'll go down the same way she came up, which is on the other side of this tree. I think she's just waiting for these buffalo to move on, and they are moving off slowly. And thereafter, I think she may come down this tree. The good thing about her general behavior today is that if she does continue to vocalize like she is, and who knows, this could already be calling in another male to let them know that she may be interested in mating. I may be wrong. Either way though, this loud audio that we are hearing her make will certainly aid in us trying to track her down this afternoon, because she could well move from here between now and this afternoon and still be in the general area, and this audio that she may let out for us will then, I'm hoping, lead us closer to where she may be. Wonderful folks, another really good audio clip we got from her there. She is certainly showing us an incredible morning. Dawn has just asked a question. Good morning, Dawn, and welcome on board. Dawn is just asking whether the buffaloes would charge her if she did come down the tree, and I think the answer to that is yes. That if the buffalo did manage to see her at any stage, she would, or they would chase her, but that's not guaranteed. Oh. Well, I am just going to get us onto the other side of the vehicle, of the tree, and I hope that we can get a frontal shot of her coming down. I'm guessing she will come down the same way that she went up, so I'm hoping she will provide us with that great sight of her coming down the tree shortly. Oh, here she comes. Beautiful. Really, really beautiful, folks. And she is going to pop down at any second now, so watch closely. We can hear many different birds, Terry. A question has just come through from Terry. Morning, Terry. The birds we most recently heard were oxpeckers flying over, and they could well have been landing on those buffaloes' backs that we heard, that we saw drive past or walk past earlier. So those are the oxpeckers, but there's a lot of different birds calling, rattling cisticolas, many different bird calls, Terry, and it really is beautiful, so I am glad you're enjoying it. Oh, this is magnificent. Any second now, I think she will jump down this tree. So don't go anywhere, folks. We're about to see her come down. Looks like she may be doing it this very second. Get ready. It really is such incredible behavior that we're witnessing here, folks, so I hope you are enjoying every minute of this. And like I say, I think she will be coming down from this tree any second. I could be wrong. So we may have her on the move for the last few minutes of the drive. Here she goes. Oh, no. Beautiful. Like I said, it was likely that she was going to go down the same way she went up, and that's exactly what she did. And that's how we were lucky enough to be on the right side of the vehicle to watch that. She may well be going back to where she did lose the cub now. She is heading in that direction, possibly just for one last check. Okay. I'm just going to let the other vehicles follow a little bit closer because they both have arrived after we have. So I want to try and give them as much as a good view as possible because we have certainly had a better view than anyone else this morning. There's been the vehicle that found it, then we arrived, then 5 other vehicles. So 7 vehicles in total have viewed this leopard as far as I'm aware. But we have been here for the longest, so it is now that I would like to take this opportunity to show our gratitude for not leaving the sighting as the other vehicles have all been changing out, and let the other vehicles follow a little bit closer. That way also putting less pressure on her and also just less pressure on the environment, because if we were all to try and follow her we would be causing more destruction by trying to do it simultaneously than if we follow behind in one another's tracks. So I'm just going to follow behind these guys and keep an eye on her for the last few minutes. It will be interesting to see what she does. Okay, I haven't chosen there's a old rhino carcass here on our left. That we're just passing by, but that's got nothing to do with the price of eggs, so I don't know why I told you that. What is important is that we are following Karula, or attempting to at least follow Karula. Police has kept an eye on her, and now I can see her as well, and she will be popping out onto a road shortly, in all likelihood, so we'll get on the road and preempt her movements. Texan's been working here for many years, so he is a good person to follow around in situations like this because his knowledge of the area. For many years now. And here she comes. Wonderful, folks. The views we have had of her this morning have been incredible, and I'm very happy about that. So I'm just going to try and stay with her for the last few minutes to see what she does, so that we do have a better chance of seeing her this afternoon. We only have 10 minutes left. Not sure if this vehicle is planning on driving down. This is the track where it's parked in front of us. Sorry, folks. I am blocked by where this vehicle is, so there is nothing we can do for now. So we will just give him a minute or two to make up his mind. It looks like he is making his way out, so we will make our way down on him and continue. How are you doing? Good, good. Okay, now, sadly in the last few minutes, folks, I have no idea what Karula has done, but I'm guessing she has continued moving down into this river. So, there's this large tambuti tree, and she's already a scent marking. And not an actual scent marking break. And yeah, I'm going to try that again. I'm getting myself confused here. There's a beautiful big log here she may climb onto. Please do that. That would be one. Get on. to watch along it very nicely, and I think that is the spot we wanted. Let's just see if she plays along with us. Come on, come on. Will she get onto the log? It's not looking too promising now. I was hoping she was going to, but I think we may no longer see her up on the log, but as she passes beneath it here, it is going to be beautiful. Here we go. Who knows, maybe this is where she has another kill. I did mention that she did look full-bellied, so she may be taking us to a kill that she has made, which will be hugely useful information for this afternoon's drive if we know where she's got some meat. It could be up any one of this branch again. It's a scent marking trait that they'll rub their bodies against certain trees. In order to leave their scent trail. Who knows, folks, she could also be leading us to another cub if there is another one. So anything is possible here. What a wonderful morning, folks. I think she may well jump up onto this log, and that would be beautiful because she'll be walking straight down it towards us. Come on. Oh, is she just going to lie down here and relax? What is she going to do? I think she's got a kill here somewhere. I could be wrong. Or it could just be that she knows it's a very shady spot in amongst these tambourtis. So it would be a good place for her to rest during the day. I wonder if she will be resting today or if she will be on the move. It's very difficult to tell, and my money would be on the fact that we could arrive here later this afternoon, and even though we know exactly where she is now, she could be long gone. Having said that, though, we certainly will come back here and double check this afternoon and start our search for her again from this last point. She's just taking some time now to groom herself. I'm just going to creep forward half a meter, and that way VM will be able to give you a slightly better angle. There we go. That's as good as it's going to get. Well, folks, there are just a few minutes left, so from myself and VM, thanks so much for joining us. And a big thank you to Craig for finding Karula this morning, because without him, we wouldn't have spent close to, I think, an hour and a half with her, possibly even longer. So we have spent a long time with her, and it's been a magical sighting in terms of what we've seen. The incident that has been inducing the behavior that we've seen is tragic and is sad, but it is nature, and it has happened. And now she's going about continuing her life as we all will, and as you do need to when tragic events occur. We're just very privileged to be able to have watched this morning's behavior from her. We've had 3 or 4 different, I think it's 4 different occasions when she performed her call for us, her loud rasping call, as well as the contact calls where she was desperately hoping that the cub was still in the area. None of the calls did have any answers, sadly, the contact calls or the louder vocalizations. But again, something so great for you to be able to see and hear firsthand. So again, thank you very much. Thanks for all the questions. Thank you to Brian for directing from the final control this morning. And again, thanks to VM for being on camera. This afternoon, myself and Mark will both be out again. So 2 vehicles this afternoon. And I, in all likelihood, will come back here to follow up on her. And Mark may head off into a different area in search of other things. Either way, though, the 2 of us will be doing our best to show you as much as we can of this beautiful place we find ourselves in. So